Hey everyone, Chris here from Scrambler Stories. I'm here to talk about a misconception I've seen a lot lately, and that is that someone has to be a certain size or strength to put a bike on a center stand. And that's not how center stands work. It's just about technique. You're not picking the motorcycle up. The motorcycle is basically rolling backward onto the center stand. Now, of course, it's easier to say that than it is to do it, but it just takes a few times to kind of get used to the technique of it. I remember I first watched a video on it when I first got a center stand, then went to go do it, and it took me a little bit to actually figure it out. And even after I mastered this bike, putting on the center stand, fully loaded up, no issues, I tried putting a friend's bike on a center stand, and I had a little more difficulty because I wasn't used to that particular bike. But, you know, really anyone can do it. As long as you're doing the right technique, and like I said, it might take you a little bit to get used to it, or to get used to it per a specific bike, but it's really not hard at all. As we're going to demonstrate, and yes, I said rear, it's not about your size. Caitlyn here is not even 5 feet tall, and I'd say I'm stronger than her. But yeah, this is our height. I'm 5'11", and she is...
I am not quite even 5 feet tall. With my riding boots, or pretty much with any shoe, I finally am 5 feet tall, but I'm basically 5 feet and weigh roughly 120 pounds.
And this bike here has a 32-inch seat height, so she can't even touch the ground on it.
And I can only bench press about 60 pounds on a good day.
Voila! And this motorcycle weighs 500 pounds fully fueled.
Yeah, so it's and I'm pretty sure it's about fully fueled right now because we just filled up last night.
All right, so what am I doing to put this bike on the center stand? Well, first things first, let's get it off the center stand. So some people need to rock it forward. Kind of so used to it now, I can just push it off. Not really a problem for me. When I have all my luggage on it, because this bike has a bit of a balance issue with the frame and the side stand, I've been kind of sitting on it and then rocking it off with my momentum. But basically I'm gonna have two contact points, right? So I got my left hand and I have my right hand. And yes, by the way, I'm holding this bike up with my knee right now. If your balance is good, it's not a problem. So my left hand, what I do for me is I grab the handlebars with my left hand. With my right hand, I grab part of the frame, which I have two kind of good spots to grab. I have here, which is the frame of my tail rack, and then I have here, which is the pannier rack. So that's the first thing I do, is have two good contact points. Then, down here, I have, the center stand's gonna have a spot where you put your foot, you know, a pedal if you will. And I'll tell you right now, mine is, I think, slightly bent from hitting some rocks in Arizona. But I'm gonna put my foot down on it. Now, one of the things that you can do, I've had times where I need to use momentum to help me put on the center stand, but basically, I put my foot down, and when both points are touching, you can feel it. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now that we're on it doesn't look angled, but this driveway is definitely angled, because if I take my hand off the handlebar, the bike is falling towards me. It's falling towards me because we're on a slope. So we're actually doing this kind of sideways, which makes it more difficult. But once I have both contact points touching, the next part is just essentially, I'm kind of pulling the bike backwards with both my hands, while I'm also stepping on the center stand and shifting my weight. Now, my weight is not going to pick up this 500-pound bike. I weigh like 160, right? Caitlyn weighs less than 120, so it's not our weight picking the bike up. It's just the momentum of going backwards. That is all. So again, I'm stepping on the center stand. I'm feeling both points make contact. I have my left hand on the handlebar, my right hand on the frame, and then I'm just stepping on it, and at the same time, you know, almost pushing the bike backwards. And it goes right up. Now, of course, this is very important for things like chain maintenance. Now, if you're somebody who just rides around town, you might not need a center stand. But if you're somebody who likes to travel, this is for me why center stand has been key. I can take a lunch break or dinner break or whatever, and I can do some maintenance on my chain. I can clean it, I can tighten it, no problems there. And then of course, if I need to take my tire off to fix a flat tire, again, center stand is key. While I have this issue with my frame where the bike is a bit too leaned over, once it has luggage on it, it wants to tumble over now, unfortunately. So me putting it on the center stand is just more secure. You can see the bike here. You know, you're not knocking this bike over very easily. In fact, it's actually really hard. So it makes it very secure, and that's one of the reasons why a center stand is important. And to get off the bike, you know, you could kind of build up some momentum by rocking it. If you get the bike off the center stand, you can build up some momentum by rocking it. I usually can just push it off. I'm very familiar with this bike. I've had it for almost 4 years, and I've had a center stand for most of that time. And I travel so much that I'm very experienced with using the center stand. Now, for me, because I'm so comfortable with this bike, I tend to leave it in neutral when I push the bike off the center stand, because I'll have it here and I can push it off and catch it right away. It's not a problem for me. It's not going to get away from me. But, you know, for some people, you might want to leave it in gear so the bike just stops. That way it doesn't get away from you. If you know, someone like Caitlyn who's smaller, it's not a bad idea to have it in first gear so that as soon as the bike comes off the center stand, it just stops. So for example, that would look like this. And it's a good idea to have the side stand down. And that way if the bike is falling over, let it fall towards you. But basically I'm gonna pull it off the center stand. It's gonna stop instantly. Or it's gonna get stuck because we're on a sloped driveway and the wheel's touching the ground right now. Do that again. All right, it's down, boom, stops. Now if it looked like mine was about to fall over, that's again just because we're on a sloped driveway and my bike leans too far over to begin with.
That's the bike. Center stand, making sure both contact points are touching. You can even kind of let go of the bike if you want to double check. And then just rock it up. For me, this is a little too high and I can't get a good momentum to pull it back to kind of in the rocking motion backwards. So for me, being shorter, actually this rack bag holder, whatever it's called, is a lot better place for me to put my hand. Yeah, so definitely try to find what's best for you, the best place for you to grab your bike. And for me, the actual frame of the bike is just too high. So for me, grabbing a little lower is an easier place for me as being a shorter rider. But in reality, it has nothing to do with strength. It has nothing really to do with size. It has all to do with momentum and shifting your weight at the proper time with the motion of getting it more backwards. You're not thinking up, you're thinking backwards.
So that's it. It's really not that difficult. If your bike has a center stand and you can't put it on, you just need some practice. Having somebody else to help you spot the bike if you're worried about dropping it, it's not a bad idea. But basically, you know, it took me a few times to figure it out, just like it did for Caitlyn. And then once you get it down, it's really not difficult. And like I said, it's not about your size or your strength, it's just about your technique. So as long as you're doing the proper technique, it's no issues.
So the other night when I was trying this for the first time, I was definitely struggling at first. It took me several tries to get it, but now I understand it. I understand the momentum, so I get it like every time, first try. So if I can do it, honestly, I think anybody can do it. It just takes lots of practice. It's heavy, heavy bike.
I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know if you have any comments down below. Otherwise, take care and scramble on.